Exodus 14. So in this particular reading, we saw that Moses had accomplished his primary aim, which was to take the children of Israel out of Egypt. And they were set on their way, and they were going to go and achieve great things. And then suddenly, the first thing that I want us to notice here is how it is that when God gives you a vision, you particularly a vision, and if that vision includes or involves other people, you have to learn how to stay true to your vision. People always come to you with different ideas. They were not there. They were not there when you got your vision. They were bystanders, at best, co-laborers. The Lord will tell you, go here. Oh, son, build me this, or son, create this, or son, oh, this direction I want you to go. And God will not tell 100 people, he will tell only you. And he expects you to sell that vision to your team. You will get on the project. Okay, guys, this is where the Lord is directing us to go. As soon as you step out and you are going, if the going is easy, everybody will be saying, wow, well done. Oh, what a first sight. Oh, well done. See how God has led us. Encounter one problem. Just one roadblock, encounter one. No matter how small. It is natural. This is not devil. This is human. This is as a result of what happened in Genesis 11. Don't ever forget. See, as long as believers forget that Genesis 11 is a fundamental solution that God gave, a spiritual solution that God gave to a mundane people in order to ensure that their unity does not hurt their eternity. But as long as they are in the flesh, they would never be truly united. Let me say that again. There is no church, no gathering, no nation in the earth that can truly have only one language. Go and check anywhere. The last time it ever happened was in Genesis 11. And after that, God came and God took away meaning. Meaning means that 2 or 3 people can see things the same way. But when they become 4 or 5, there will be different opinions. By the time they are 10, there will be different. By the time they are 1,000, there will be different caucuses formed, different triads, groups formed, different whatever, and there will be different schools. There is nothing you can do about it. There is nothing you can do about it, not one thing. And the coming of the Holy Spirit did not change it. You must note this, especially to leaders. You must note this, that Genesis 11 has redefined communication forever. And therefore, as a leader, whenever you meet a roadblock, people will come with different instructions. Some will even claim it's from the Lord. They want to help you. They love you. So forget that nobody is trying to mislead you. But you have to stay true to the cause that God has given you. That, okay, God has said I'm going to take these people to the mountain. That was what God told Moses. He said, bring them to this mountain. So the least that Moses should be able to do was to deliver them to that mountain. God did not say, take them to the sea. God did not say, kill them. God said, they will come to this mountain where I have met with you and they worship me here. So that is at least the first end goal, was that Moses will go to Egypt and bring them to that mountain. That was it. But as soon as they met the roadblock, people began to grumble. If you are a leader that listens to people criticism, that every time people are criticizing you, you'll be shouting, yeah, they are blaming me. You are not ready. Either for secular work or for gospel. You are not ready. You are a baby. You are not supposed to be a leader yet. Maybe you should go and become a PA to somebody that has a very harsh tongue, that will insult you very well, so that you develop a thick skin, so that then you can take up your mandate. It is natural for leaders to be criticized, either reasonably or unreasonably. It does not matter, because the world will always see things in a different way due to what happened in Genesis 11. I want you to note this. Genesis 11 is the bane of unity for every gathering, including the church. It is the bane of every gathering. So as a leader, you must be conscious of that. That people will come up with different ideas now. Some will say they want to go back. Some will say, can we get boats? Some will say, can we get sheep? Some will say, let's kill ourselves so that Pharaoh does not catch us. Some will say, let us kill Moses and deliver Moses to Pharaoh. Some will say, let us kill the entire tribe of Levi. Some will say, oh, everybody will come up with all sorts as soon as there's a problem. Note this. Note this. And all of them, sincerely, they do not have evil intention. They would speak from what they know, from the reality they know. You must be, as a leader, you must be aware of this. When Moses was standing there with the people that it wasn't their father, it wasn't their mother, if he had left Egypt alone, he would have gotten to that Red Sea and nobody would have noticed him, nobody would be chasing him. If he had left Egypt, he would have followed the other road and he would not even follow the Red Sea part. He had traveled before. He knows the road away from Egypt. He has traveled to Midian, he has traveled back. He knew where the mountain was. He knew the way. It was because of the people. He said, I don't want to take them through that part because they will see war and turn back. So that was why it was because of them that he took the sea, the most impossible part. And yet the same people that he was considering as a leader were the ones that were going to kill him. Pay attention. The voice of people is not the voice of God. As long as you are a leader in the church or somebody that God has given a divine vision to, the voice of people, vox populi, vox dei, does not work for you. The voice of God is the voice of God for you. What did the Holy Spirit say? Stay true to it. When they got to that mountain, any other person will be looking for that solution. I'll give you an example, practical one. I have a friend, a Christian friend, maybe he'll be on this call now. When the Lord told me to build, I didn't keep it a secret. I announced that I'm going to start building because when the Lord didn't ask us to build, we didn't build. In fact, we helped others build, but we didn't build anything for ourselves because the Lord did not tell me to build at the time. I thought the ministry would just be traveling all over the world and that we would just be buying maybe buses and booking hotels and all that. In fact, I was trying that in every state we are going to have like Airbnb, a small place so that I don't have to pay for hotels because we travel a lot. So I thought that was what the Lord wanted us to do. I never knew we would build. So we've helped others to build. And then the Lord said, oh, it's time to build. The Lord told me that and I said, guys, it's time to build. And then I announced it on social media. I said, oh, the Lord has told us to build, so we are going to build. And I have this friend, pastor, also in a rented church. He said, Brother Gbenga, the Lord has spoken to you that you should build. I've been a pastor for 7 years, I've not built. I will also build. Based on the strength of this thing you have said, I will also build. So he immediately went to raise money from the church members, he bought land. When he bought land, they started building. We started building at the same time. And then suddenly, he wrote to me, I'm in serious debt. I said, why? He said, when we finish building the foundation, people didn't have money anymore. So I had to go to the bank. I sold one of my land, then I gave them this, then I gave them that. And somebody came telling me about an investment. Somebody told me that we can do Forex. Somebody told me that we can take some money and invest it with one place that will give them 30% on the ROI. So I took some money. I thought that if I quickly invest the money will come out, then we'll continue the project. But now I'm in debt and the project has stalled. And you continue to build. How? I said, you didn't stay true. You didn't stay true. Was it not God that told Moses to go and bring the children of Israel? Was it not God? Was it not the same God that told him, stretch your hand to the sea? Because when the impossible happens, the voice of the one you listen to will determine your outcome. Whose voice did you listen to? If you listen to the voice of the people, you will miss it. Examples abound in the scriptures. Those who listen to the voice of the devil, David counted the people. The Bible said the devil moved him to count the people. He listened to the voice of the devil, and people died as a result of it. So some people, God will tell them this is the way they will listen to the enemy, and then they will have problems. People listen to the voice of men, the spies. They were listening to the voice of those who are saying, hey, we are like grasshoppers. They were, as soon as they listened to any contrary opinion, then the plan of God did not come to pass again. But somebody that is staying true, you know that this is what God wants me to do. You focus your eyes on it. It doesn't matter the impediment. You know that it will be blown away. I am 100% sure that if the Lord says build, did he say I should go and sell my property to build? No, I didn't sell nada. I promise you. I didn't sell nada. I didn't take a cover loan. He said build. What he said was build. So what was I doing? I was building. I will not overreach myself. I will not be building ahead of building. Building is block. Okay, make block. Buy, no matter how small the money that comes, let them be doing the work. Let them continue it. Go to the site, lay hands on the project, speak to it. The Lord said build. And it was done in more than record time. When others that tried to do the same thing found themselves in serious debt because they didn't stay true. God will never ask you to take a loan to do his work. I guarantee it. I've been in church council several times, from Baptists to RCCG to others, where people do not stay true. When they will get to a point and they will say, there is this blue chip company, there is this green chip company, we can buy shares here. When you begin to hear deacons, deaconesses, elders in the church talking like that, know that they are not your enemy. Genesis 11 has happened to them. They will be so convinced of what they are saying. But their voice, no matter how wise it is not the voice of God. I remember clearly when I was at Tuya Baptist Church, and I named the church with joy because it was in one of the churches that groomed me in Ibadan. We were building a church building. Then they formed the committee, and then the committee came out and said, oh, this is how we will raise money. We will put our money in this investment. I remember Professor, what's his name now? It's not late. One professor of Yoruba and UI. The man stood up and said, I did not borrow money to build my house. You guys are not saying that we should borrow money to build God's house. So I will be living in a house debt-free, and then I will build a house for God full of debt. Never. Professor Awoni Adedija Awoni. He said, never. We were doing church in conference. These other DVCs and all the other professors, Professor Jesse, Professor, all the great men, they were there. They had done a meeting. They had concluded that that was the best solution for the church. Only one voice stood up and said, never. When we did the vote, when they said everybody should vote, should we go for it or not? Everybody said we are not going for it. You cannot be sleeping in your own house, debt-free, and say we should collect loan to build a house for God, so that God is living in a rented apartment or bank. Bank is going to come and jack God by the collar and tell God to be coughing out money every month. What kind of insult? I learned a lesson from that. I learned that staying true, no matter, of course, after that meeting, the other professors insulted him. He did not come for the meeting. We have labored night and day. We've done everything. He came to the meeting and he scattered it. The man didn't care. He didn't care. He scattered everything. But his voice was the voice of God. I say it with all joy. We finished building the pastorium within a year after that, without a common loan, because somebody stood up and said, God should not stay in a place that is not worthy of his name. If God cannot provide a place for himself, then it is not worth it. We cannot borrow any cover to build a house for God. We can't. I cannot. I will build a nation for God, and it will be all resources from heaven. I will never borrow a penny from any man. No man will ever be able to say that in the day of trouble, JSW came to me to borrow a penny or a nickel. It will never happen. For the Lord has lifted me up. For the Lord God Almighty is the lift up of my head, my shield, and my exceedingly great reward. I will never deface him like that. But it is the leadership that determines. Because those who are saying that too are not the enemy of the church. They just allow Genesis 11 to happen to them. Don't forget that. It's important. So when you stay true to the cause, when obstacles come, the obstacles are a way of God making people know who he is. Let me say that again. When God is working on the earth, because other people are also doing the same thing. Remember when we started our building project that time, I'll be driving from state to state and I'll see massive projects going on. People will be building skyscrapers in the Keja. I will see somebody building a mall. I will see somebody building something. I will see buildings springing up. And some of these buildings, some of them are like nightclubs. Some of them are even mosques. Then I will always remind myself, I will say, if unbelievers are building massive projects like this, if unbelievers are doing things like this, those who don't know God are doing things like this, those who are serving the devil are doing things like this, how can I then say that I don't have the resources to build a wonder for God? You know, in my head, that's always my cogitation. I would compare. I would say, no. If an unbeliever can do this, oh my, I will do great and mighty things. It is not as if I have money kept, but the picture I kept before me was that consistently. So then God will now find a way to make sure that that picture comes to pass. But everybody around you will be saying, this is not man. I remember I was speaking with Pastor Sunday one day, we were chatting, and then Pastor Sunday said, Brother Gbenga, we don't have like all these rich politicians among us. We don't have bank managers. We don't have, because I'm looking at all of us. All of us are young and we are just getting on our feet. You know, the oldest among us, maybe in their late 30s, early 40s. All the people are young. You have a lot of young people that are still in school. Like, how are we able to do this? Then I reminded him that when God decides to do things, he will use the foolish things of this world to confirm the wise. So that everybody would say, when they get there, they will say, this is God. So that was what God was looking at when Pharaoh was coming for the children of Israel. God said in Genesis 14, one of the verses, he said, now they will know that I, God, I am the God of Israel. Now Pharaoh will know. So Pharaoh had been arguing. Oh, Moses is a sorcerer. It was sorcery that he used. His sorcery was just bigger than my own sorcery. Was sorcery that he used. We tried sorcery. He did something, we did it. He did another thing, we did it. He did another thing, we did it. But then it was a bigger sorcerer. It was sorcery. This guy used sorcery to put a king to his knee. He used sorcery to kill my son. He used sorcery to kill the animals. But what is the husband of sorcerer, if not a man of war? In Yoruba language, they will say a thief is the husband of the witch. Because while the witch is going to do spiritual, a thief will come into the house of the witch and beat the witch and cut the leg. If you can cut the leg down, so the witch will beat the witch very well. The witch cannot do anything in the physical, but the thief can do a lot. So they used to say a thief is the husband of the witch. That is how a warlord is the husband of sorcerers. Nebuchadnezzar employed over 1,000 sorcerers in his lifetime, men of great renown and power, but they all serve him. That they have sorcery did not make them greater than him. Many of us, we know the story of Arthur and Merlin. Merlin was a sorcerer. You see that Merlin served Arthur. Arthur was the king without sorcery. It is always that order, that a king with authority and men would be the one that is above a sorcerer. Balaam and Balak. Balak was the king. Balaam was the sorcerer. Balaam was the one that was employed to come and curse. Balak was the king. The king would be the one to always employ the sorcerer. The sorcerer will not employ the king. That's the order. So Pharaoh was like, this guy had sorcery and he used sorcery, but it was because I was encouraging him. I'm going to use the power of the sword. I will conquer him and defeat him, because the king knows that sorcery has limit in the realm of men, but the power of men, the will of man, can break anything. So he tried to get me the soldiers, get me my army. We are going to deal with this guy. We are going to deal with him. He did not see God. He saw sorcery. He saw Moses as a sorcerer, and he knew that the only way he could defeat that power of sorcery is by confronting it with the full strength of might of his army. So God said, in this I will be glorified. He has tried to use sorcery versus sorcery, he has lost. He has tried to use stubbornness, I broke him. Now he wants to use might. Okay, in this I will be glorified. That is how the story of those who stay true to divine vision always is. In their ways, in their action, in their obedience, God is always glorified. Don't forget that. Stay true to your vision. God has shown you this is the end, because God does that. He may show you 30 years' time. He will not show you every step of the journey. He may just show you standing before a crowd and ministering. He may show you doing a conference, a meeting, and you are the captain of an industry, and you see white people, great people, Asian, Latino, everybody call you sa in a 2-minute vision. You may see yourself owning an industry, sheep. You may see yourself owning sheep and doing meetings and telling people, oh, this sheep is great to Macedonia, this one is great to Turkey, and this one. You may see yourself as the end product. That you may see the end product. He will not show you how you will get to that place, but he has shown it to you, and you know in your heart that this is where it's leading me. Then it is up to you to say, okay, how do I navigate my path from this lowly position to that position of greatness that the Lord has set for me? How do I walk? Who do I meet with? Believe me, a lot of people will meet you on the way that will be carriers and lifters of your arm by the Lord. A lot of people will come that will also lift by the Lord. A lot of people will come that will stay with you. Some will come and go. Some will just, but you will just notice that as you begin to move, you will gather momentum. But all these people, they are not supposed to come and be your advisors to take away from the path. Don't forget what I said earlier. No matter who God has gathered onto you, the vision that God gave to you should be the only voice that you hear. Should be the only voice. Immediately somebody says to you that, oh, you notice that the crowd in your church is not more. It's not much. I know one man in Ghana, but I know one man in Abeokuta, I know one man in Ijebu that helps young ministers. And it's not really Christian like that, but you know, God does. Once you begin to hear things like that, turn your back. Because once you corrupt that vision, there's something we call the cycle of life by the Spirit. It may take many years for that cycle to come back to right. I may teach about it one of these days. But don't forget that when Esau missed his birthright, the Bible said he sought it to tears, and even though he cried and cried, he couldn't get it back. Stay true to your vision. Stay true to your vision. It is in the place of that vision that the glory of God will be revealed. It is in the place of staying true to the cause. No matter the counsel, the advice, and the pressure from family, from friends, it is in staying true that the name of God will be glorified. Men of God will come to you, all of them saying that we have a way of saying, we have a solution, we have a way of doing it. Hey, but I just want you to consider this. I don't listen. It's the truth. I do not. I would hear, but I do not listen. Or I may listen, but I will not hear. Either whichever one is correct. Because as soon as I know that it's going to take me away from the primary focus, I'll just turn my back. I will not say yes or no. You just say I'm not going that direction. Because I know that the person that came is not my enemy. That the person came with good faith. But I will not allow Genesis 11 to happen to me. I will not allow that thing that takes meaning away from unity to happen to me and my team. So I can listen to all forms of counsel, but I will not take any that does not conform with the vision that God has given unto me and the principles of Christ that I'm learning by the Spirit. You must follow the same example. You must be determined to fulfill the same thing. Now, when you stay true to the vision, regardless of the pressure, a point will come when God would realize that, okay, you are not going to budge, because every act of obedience is a lesson. God is learning about you, and you're also learning about God. God is learning about you because if you budge, God will know that, oh, this is not a reliable person. God does not put all this trust in any man. He will give you an assignment. He will give you stage by stage. If you get to stage 1, you did well, he will give you next phase. Stage 2, when you mess up, God will pause, find somebody else to continue the work. That one will start your own stage 3, that one stage 1. If that one also mess up stage 5, God will find somebody to continue the work. Your own stage 5 will be that one stage 1. And everybody will begin to grow like that because God knows man. He doesn't need anybody to tell you stories about men. But if you stay true, then God will give you second stage. Stay true. So when Moses stayed true, God came to him and said, what are you doing? Yeah, lift up your hand to the sea. So remember, God learned that Moses was willing to be faithful. God learned the same thing about David, that David was willing to be faithful. Saul messed up. God learned that also. That, oh, Saul, I trusted him, but he messed up. That sons of men would mess up is not a new thing. So every stage of your fulfilling your divine calling, you are going to be learning more about the nature and character of God. And God is going to be learning more about your own nature, character, and evolution in Christ. So that when you stay true, you begin to now experience exceptional miracles. Nobody has seen the same paths before. Moses did it. He didn't see it in a vision. He didn't, when he was in the wilderness, God didn't show him himself parting the sea. But because he stayed true, and when Pharaoh was approaching, everybody was jittery, and he was considering many things. His head had many options, but he stayed true, thinking the Lord will help me. Then the Lord said, why are you standing? Yeah, move towards the sea and stretch your hand. Stretch your hand. Yeah. And then he did it. And suddenly, not only did the sea respond, the angels of God's presence came down physically and prevented the children of Egypt from accessing the children of Zion. It was the first time ever that the world will see angels of God and the divine move in that dimension. The first time ever. If Moses has not stayed true, he wouldn't have seen that miracle. Staying true opens the door to supernatural miracles. You will see the handwriting of, you will see the power of God, you will see the glory of God. If you will stay true to that vision, knowing that God gave it to you and that you did not try to provide human solution to a divine instruction. Again, don't provide human solution to a divine instruction. God said, do this. Don't be like Abraham and go and say, let me sleep with my wife's house girl, or let me go and sleep with a girl outside. If you know that God has given you instructions, do not try and find human solution. Stay true to God's instruction. People will come, help will come, whatever. God can use anybody to help, but as long as the help is coming in line with the vision, it's fine. If it takes you away from the vision, that is not from God. Do not bite. I believe you've been blessed tonight, and that as you practice and stay true to the vision of God, in the next few weeks, you'll begin to share great and mighty testimonies, express of the kingdom that God is doing through you. You will not be little, you will not be small. God bless you. I'll see you next week. If you have been blessed by this teaching, I'd like you to shout glory.
Glory!